We've got Freddie stalking Nancy through the wall. And then we have some random guy who he didn't really go on to have a movie career. I forget what his name is. It escapes me. Hey guys, how you going? Welcome back to a brand new video here on the channel, and today it's something a little bit different. I'm going to be going through my entire Elm Street physical media collection. Now, when it comes to my collection, I have probably the most eclectic, yes, eclectic, that's right, I learned a new word.
Eclectic? Jeez.
Collection ever. Some of them are not complete, it's just random crapola, but I feel like each piece has a fun little story to it. Now, I got the inspiration to do this video from my dear friend Christian, who is on YouTube, who has Planet CHH. He does a lot of physical media coverage when it comes to like 4K announcements, Blu-ray, VHS, all that type of stuff, mostly old school horror announcements. And he also goes through old school horror VHSs. He's the type of bloke you could just have these videos on in the background if you're working or just doing something, and it's kind of therapeutic, and I absolutely love him. He's an absolute treat to listen to on YouTube, so thank you for the inspiration, Christian. So again, I'm just going to go through my entire physical collection, and if there's a nice little funny antidote, I'm going to add that on. So I'm going to be going in a particular order. I'm going to be starting with books. Yes, Elm Street books. I feel like that is a form of physical media. We've also got documentaries, vinyls, box sets, and then the VHSs. When it comes to the Australian release of Elm Street VHSs, they are quite a rarity and can fetch a pretty penny. Now, there are some pieces that are missing that are lost in storage at my parents' place, and I just, for the life of me, cannot find it, so I'll try to overlay that on the screen when I actually am talking about it. But technically, I do have it in my possession, just not right here. So starting off with books, these two books I actually haven't read. One, I've actually read the prologue to. So the first one actually comes from a good friend, Chris Barker, and he actually sent this to me as a gift when I was doing up a Freddy glove for him. I was like refurbishing it. So this is pretty notorious, this book right here. This has been doing the rounds since what? When was this published? 1987. Yeah, it smells like 1987. So this kind of continues on the story from Elm Street's parts 1, 2, and 3, and you get a damn good look at the original hero glove right there, and it's got some incredible photos on the inside. Like, look at that beautiful shot of Robert from part 1. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And then you go all the way to the very end of those photos and you see Robert in the makeup from part 2 wearing a denim jacket and his fedora. Absolutely love it. So yes, this does continue the story from parts 1, 2, and 3. Again, I haven't read this one, but Chris included this in a care package when he sent a glove to me to refurbish, which is really cool. The next one I got from Big W when I just started high school, and I kid you not, I was too scared to continue reading it. I was a wuss when I was a kid, and nothing's really changed. But I have read the prologue. So this is Freddy Krueger's Tales of Terror, and this is called Blind Date. So we got the new Nightmare Freddy on the front there, and then if we open it up, it's that cool kind of cover right there, and it's kind of double-sided, and it's multi-layered, sorry for that matter. And then you see that girl there in the hospital bed. I did read the prologue, and it's got Freddy like plunging someone's eyes out, and again, I was like Rod and Todd Flanders after reading the prologue.
Daddy, what's the red stuff coming out of Kitty's ears?
So those are the two books I have. I know there's a lot more like novelizations out there, continuations of like Elm Street 3 and Freddy vs. Jason and stuff like that. You got Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash. But those are the two books I have in my collection. Now, when it comes to documentaries, one that is in storage, and I'm pretty sure, unfortunately, it's water damaged, but I also made an appearance in, was the documentary I Am Nancy, which was pretty cool, and I actually had Heather Langenkamp sign the cover. Again, it's in storage somewhere. I have to try and find it, but I did make an appearance in that particular documentary back in 2010 when I was at Weekend of Horrors to meet Robert Englund for the first time at the LAX Marriott, and that was the first time I took myself overseas. It was really fun.
I come all this way from Sydney to see this. What can I say? I'm a big horror fan, and I think this is all worth it, and I think it's worth all the money that I've worked my butt off for, and this is me. This is who I am. These are my people. It's good to talk to people about Freddy and gloves and Nancy, and without just okay. He's talking about it again, and people to actually understand, have a conversation with you. It's great.
Like me.
Like this guy here.
Perfect segue, because I got this particular piece at Weekend of Horrors in 2010, is Never Sleep Again, The Elm Street Legacy. This is the 4-hour ultimate documentary. This is, in my opinion, and I'm not being biased because I'm an Elm Street fan, one of the best documentaries ever in terms of covering a film series. It covers everything. It gets into the nitty gritty and stuff like that. It's a 2-disc documentary. It comes with all the beautiful special features. There's like For the Love of the Glove, where you see a lot of glove makers who are dear friends of mine that actually got included on this. Even if you're not an Elm Street fan, just to watch it and hear all the shenanigans that happen behind the scenes is quite incredible, and I highly recommend it. Again, even if you're a surface level Elm Street fan, or just not an Elm Street fan in general, just a movie buff. It was great guerrilla filmmaking back then, even with the Freddy's Nightmares TV series. Absolutely incredible. So this was actually given to me by Lito Velasco, who was one of the producers on Never Sleep Again. He's still a dear friend of mine to this day, and the good thing is it's multi-region. We are region 4? 1. I can't fucking remember. It's been so long since I've had to worry about DVD regions, and Lito's like, don't worry, man, it's region free. You can just play it on your DVD player when you get home. So it's great. Next up, and actually Christian from Planet CAH covered this a couple of weeks ago on a video of his, and it was really good. And it was like a nice little trip down memory lane. Boogeymen, the Killer compilation. So technically, this is a bunch of slashes. So we got Pinhead, Freddy, Leatherface, Ghostface, Chucky, Candyman, Leprechaun, Simon from The Ugly. We got Wishmaster, Camilla from The Guardian. Know What You Did Last Summer. I'm reading the back right here, so it's great. It's a great little script on the back right here. But this is just a compilation of a bunch of clips from a bunch of horror movies, and you even have a commentary from Robert Englund himself. Now, this is the Australian release. This was a rarity to get here in Australia, and I remember getting it at my local department store, Maya, for that matter. I was still in high school. I was 13 years old when I bought this. I didn't have my ID, anything like that. So I went up to the counter, slapped it on the counter, and it's MA 15+. And the clerk was just like, yeah, it's fine. Just scanned it. That's $25. Bought it. Didn't even check my ID. Didn't even ask for an ID. And it's still cool. Like, it has all clips from like all the slasher flicks. So in the case of Freddy, it's Tina's death. In Pinhead's case, it's Frank's death. It's a little bit lame with the trivia and all that. It's kind of dated now, but it's still a damn fun watch. It's actually on YouTube, the whole thing, and also the whole clip with Robert Englund's commentary. So I highly recommend checking that out, because like, Robert's just a blast. He's just having the time of his life doing that commentary and just talking absolute smack. Next up, we have the vinyl releases. I've only got 2 vinyls in my collection. So this isn't the original release, but this is the 1989. I'll look on the back there. 1989 German release of the original Nightmare on Elm Street vinyl, with some lovely black and white photos on the back. Next up is the Freddy's Dead original vinyl signed by Robert Englund that says, "For Chris from DJ Freddy." I got this signed by Robert back in 2016 when he was here in Sydney for Oz Comic Con, and I showed it to him and he absolutely shit himself because of the rare promo stills on the back that he hadn't seen since like 1991, and he was just amazed by it. He's like, oh my god, I haven't seen these photos in ages. You know, look at Yaphet Kotto, look at Roseanne and Tom Arnold, look at Lisa Zane. He's like, I just haven't seen these in ages. And I actually played this one a lot. I actually do have a fond nostalgia and a fondness just for the songs of this. Like, you've got I'm Awake Now by the Goo Goo Dolls. You got You Know What I Mean by the Goo Goo Dolls. You got Remember the Night by Johnny Law. It's a very eclectic soundtrack, but I think because I love Freddy's Dead so much, even though it's just god awful, it's so bad it's good. It's like Troll 2 and Samurai Cop, but the soundtrack is actually quite banger. And I'm pretty sure Christian from Planet CAH will agree on that. Now, if I do look a little bit red, I do apologize. Chloe, Gus, and I went down to the beach yesterday afternoon. It was like a ripper of a day, so I'm like a little bit sunburned, so I'm like copying the effects now. But anyway, we are moving on to box sets. So this is actually the first big piece of Elm Street physical media I had ever bought, and this is actually my first eBay purchase in history. This was back when I was in year 10, so 2004. It is a Chinese bootleg Elm Street box set. So you know the classic DVD box set. Well, this is the Chinese bootleg version that comes with CDs, crudely put in these CD packets right here. It's essentially, in terms of quality, the exact same as the legit copies. They're just all bootleg. And again, this was my first ever purchase on eBay. Mum and dad were like, all right, cool. You can get an eBay account. We trust you. So I got myself the Chinese bootleg version, and it's so damn cool. I like wore the shit out of it, so I have a fond nostalgia for that one. Now, in 2010, it came time for Elm Street to make its appearance on Blu-ray here in Australia. And one of my dearest friends, who's actually my groomsman at my wedding in a couple of weeks' time, Brad, I actually saw him today. He used to work at a printing company here in Sydney that printed all the box sets for Blu-rays and DVDs, and he actually got a heads up that they were doing the Elm Street Blu-ray pack. One day, Brad texts me back in 2010. He goes, dude, we just printed the Elm Street Blu-ray box set. And I'm like, fuck off. Are you sure it wasn't DVD? And he's like, no, Blu-ray. It said Blu-ray. And I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, my best mate, my groomsman, printed this box set, which is really cool. It's the laziest design ever because they're using the Part 4 Freddy and then the remake glove. And this doesn't even come with the remake. It's Elm Street 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and then disc 5 is an all-new retrospective Fear Himself, The Life and Crimes of Freddy Krueger. And I remember going to JB Hi-Fi, which is like our Best Buy here, and Brad was with me, and he took one look at it and he's like, yeah, we fucked up that printing job a little bit. It's all right. I'm like, dude, I don't give a shit. I got this on Blu-ray. And like the Blu-ray transfers for the most part were pretty damn good. Like it was a massive upscale from what we had on DVD with the original collection, but it was still cool nonetheless. Like to me, this is just a pretty slapdash, put it out on Blu-ray collection, but it has come in handy, especially when it comes to reference for building the gloves. All right, now we are getting into the VHS part. With the exception of the original Elm Street, I do have one more DVD to accompany the original Elm Street, but let's start off with Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. So I know I said that Chinese bootleg collection was like the first big part of Elm Street physical media. This is technically the first ever one-off piece of physical media I had ever bought in terms of Elm Street, but it's on its own, and it's actually just in an acrylic case now, and it no longer has the VHS. So Mum bought me Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare on VHS, and when I was in high school, I saw on robertenglund.com that you could send in pieces for Robert to sign, and as long as you do a return, some return money and stuff like that, include some cash, they'll send it back signed. So I cut out the VHS cover of Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, got Robert to sign it and send it back, which was really cool. So technically that was the first ever piece of Elm Street physical media I ever bought. And then I found this on eBay, another Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare VHS. It's crazy how much these go for these days. And if you're lucky, you can even see which video store it was at. So this was at Video Manor, Gladesville. That's so funny. Chloe used to work at Gladesville, so Gladesville's like half an hour down the road from here. Video Manor, never heard of that one before. And I also managed to score myself an original pair of Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare 3D glasses from when you saw the film. And you had to put your 3D glasses on when Maggie put hers on. No one knew what the fuck they were doing. Next up, we have a Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. Original Australian VHS, still has all those beautiful gnarly stickers on them. Weekly rental, $3.30 weekly. How much of a bargain is that? I remember seeing this back in the day when I was a little kid, the VHS store, and seeing Freddy with a long ass arm and doing that, and I'm like, is he doing a musical number? Is he just like, hey? I had no idea what the hell was going on. Next up, A Nightmare on Elm Street 4. I bought this from my local porn store back in 2004 when I was in grade 10. No joke, for about $4. Now, the Australian VHSs are fetching between $80 to $100 now. The only thing is it didn't come with the original yellow VHS plastic clamshell that the originals came with. But nonetheless, that is a crazy jump in price. Next up, we have A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors. This is the one I remember most when going into the VHS stores and seeing A Nightmare on Elm Street all lined up. It was the Aussie Elm Street 3 VHS, and it was very like kind of pop culture-y, you know, pop art kind of thing going on here with the yellow, like a lot of bloody yellow. But we got like Freddy at the end of the hallway there, and then we've got Jennifer about to be smashed into the television. And we didn't hold back in the day, man, in the 80s. Like we rated this, we rated the second one and the first Elm Street R, like a hard Australian R. It's bad if we rated an R. Oh shit, I missed Wes Craven's New Nightmare. So this is actually an American VHS. I also have an Elm Street 5 VHS. So these are NTSC, but back in the day, my old man had an NTSC compatible VHS player. So when my dad was finishing up working for Qantas. For some of you who don't know, Qantas is like our flagship Australian airline. Case in point, I'll show you guys this clip of Dustin Hoffman from Rain Man explaining Qantas.
All airlines have crashed at one time or another. That doesn't mean that they are not safe.
Qantas.
Qantas?
Qantas never crashed.
Qantas?
Never crashed.
It's a very safe airline. I used to work for Qantas too. But anyway, when Dad was like wrapping up, about to retire, take the redundancy, Qantas encouraged everyone that was about to take the redundancy to take their families on like some of their final trips, just as kind of like a nice thing to do. So Dad took Mum and I to LA and New York, and we're in New York, and Mum and I went to the Virgin store, I think, when Virgin was a thing. And I saw the VHSs there, and Mum and Dad like, well, we can't buy the entire collection. Like, that's going to cost a lot. I'm like, I've already seen Freddy's Dead and half of Wes Craven's New Nightmare at that point. I'm like, I want Freddy's Dead and Wes Craven's New Nightmare. So a lot of you guys who are from the States probably know this one very damn well. But yeah, it's still pretty cool to have in the collection. Yeah, it was just handy that Dad had an NTSC compatible VHS player, because we are PAL here in Australia. Now, I also skipped another one. When it comes to Freddy vs. Jason, again, this is stuff that is lost in storage. I have the original Australian DVD. I also have the special edition DVD of Freddy vs. Jason with all those beautiful special features. Not to mention, I have the soundtrack for Freddy vs. Jason, which to this day, I still blast at the gym. I don't know about you guys, but the soundtrack for Freddy vs. Jason is fucking badass and banger, especially when you're trying to bench like 100 kilos, get some kill switch engage going from Freddy vs. Jason. Gorgeous. Now, this is probably the second most notable VHS I remember from seeing in the video store back in the day, Elm Street 2, and we have the most blandest looking back cover. We got Jesse with the glove on, and then Freddy when he's melting at the end of Elm Street 2. So actually, shit, let me go through and see where these guys are from. Okay, the label's scratched off that one. No label in Elm Street 3. Elm Street 4... Hollywood Boulevard, Walsand, 5-1. That's not even a video shop. It just says Hollywood Boulevard. Okay. Elm Street 5. What? Wait. Okay, so Elm Street 5 and Freddy's Dead are both from Video Manor of Gladesville again, which is like half an hour down the road. And last but certainly not least, Elm Street 1. But before we get to the very rare VHS, I want to talk about this release of the original Elm Street on DVD. I'm pretty sure in the States, this is called the Infinifilm edition. I remember seeing this in Big W and I'm like, holy shit, this is incredible. It's a 2-discer with special features with a brand new documentary called Never Sleep Again, not the 4-hour one. This goes for about 50 minutes, but this actually comes with a certificate of authenticity, and it goes on to say, this certificate verifies that Roadshow Films has ensured that the accompanying Australian limited edition movie images are a reproduction of the authentic movie images as approved by the originating movie studio. And then we have these beautiful stills here. We got Fred in the boiler room. We've got Nancy with the tongue phone. We've got Freddy and Tina under the sheets. We've got Freddy stalking Nancy through the wall. And then we have some random guy who he didn't really go on to have a movie career. I forget what his name is. It escapes me. But yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. That was the Infinifilm edition, I think, in the States. I don't know. I could be very, very wrong, but I feel like it was something similar. But anyway, yeah, that was a really cool edition. That was for the 25-year anniversary. We're about to hit the 40th anniversary. How crazy is that of the first Elm Street? And last but certainly not least, the very rare original Australian Nightmare on Elm Street VHS from 1985. So we didn't get Elm Street in theaters and on VHS until 1985. We were a little bit slow because we're in an island just at the bottom of the earth and no one knows we're here. But yes, this is the original VHS. It took me forever to find this on eBay. And for transparency, I paid, it was either 250 or 300 Australian dollars. And firstly, let me see what video store this comes from. It doesn't say. I love seeing all the original markings on the cassette, but what made this particular VHS so rare is when you took the cover out, if you were the clerk of the store, you had the option of bloody or non-bloody. So pending your taste for gore, you don't want it, or you want the blood on there. And that's what makes this such a rarity. And of course, being the first cab off the rank for the Elm Street VHSs back in 1985, they're slim pickings these days. Like the VHSs in general for Elm Street VHSs in Australia are pretty slim pickings. And if you find them in their mint condition, they're going to go for an absolute rarity. And there you go, guys. That is my Elm Street physical media collection. Hope you guys enjoyed my ramblings with that one. And just some anecdotes from my childhood. It was just nice to go back down memory lane. Again, a massive thank you to Christian from Planet CHH for the inspiration to do this. I hope you guys got an absolute jonesing out of this. I love talking Elm Street. Love talking to you guys about Elm Street. With that being said, what is your most treasured piece of horror physical media? Doesn't have to be Elm Street. Let me know. Love you guts, and I'll catch you in the next one.